Men may not say, but I tell you, telling a man that he's a great man means more things than you can think about. And a man knows how to create a world that you can believe in. It's not really the world he's living, is what I mean. Trust means something different for a man than it means to a woman. There are 4 things I list that women can do to make a man more expressive. Number 1 is silence.
Welcome to Moments with Ejeomah, where we talk about all things life, career, and everything in between. Today, we have a very special guest. He's a movie director, a screenwriter, a psychologist, a TEDx speaker, and a book author. He wrote the book, How to Be a Man in a Crazy World. You guys, podcast. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much.
So, there's something I've always wanted to ask, right? A lot of people know you as a movie director, screenwriter, executive producer, but a lot of people don't know that aspect of you being a psychologist. I wanted to ask, is there a reason why?
Okay, first of all, psychotherapist by training actually. Okay, so I'd handled so many cases before I actually got into films. I had handled a lot of cases with a lot of clients, working for wholeness consulting for a while, and then it was a whole lot, a whole lot of having to handle a lot of clients and working with all of that. So I wanted to focus on my film and take it more seriously and kind of like bringing my psychology background into my film, into my storytelling and all that. So I would kind of like downplay on that therapy part, while I kind of like give more credence to the filmmaking part. So that's why I kind of like low key on that a little bit, but I also infuse that in my filmmaking and other endeavors that I put myself into.
Okay, yeah, that's good, because I wanted to ask, like, what led to screenwriting from having the career as a psychologist? Like, I'm trying to see how you're able to transition and what led to that.
Yeah, for me, I've always been someone that loved writing stories. As early as 11 years old, I used to make stories about anything. I could just write about random things around, and I've always been about life and how people experience it, basically. And so, in my teenage, I was part of a group that started a teenager platform back then, many years ago. And so I'm not that old, by the way. So, but I began to see lots of questions that young people were having that there were no answers to. That's what even made me develop interest in understanding how the human mind works and how people actually thought about life and how they saw life and how they could also be helped when help needs to be rendered, all that. In a way, that's kind of like influenced my storytelling and my films. Whenever I write stories, I'm always about how people feel how they connect to the story. So my background in psychology really escalated that. And I felt the need to really bring that human element to the story itself. And so that's what actually made me kind of delve into that and take it more seriously. But I'm still learning. I have a whole lot to learn.
I really love that. So now to your book. What inspired the book, How to Be a Man in a Crazy World?
Well, funny story. I never wanted to write a book in my life, ever.
Okay,
ever.
So what led to that?
I never wanted to. But back in school, I started a forum called Heroes.
Oh, that's
an avenue for men.
Wow.
And mainly because I felt with so many avenues for women. You guys had more than I had women avenues here and there, but there were hardly anything for the men. And so I knew as a young man growing up, I had many struggles that I wanted answers to. And some of the men I reached out to, they were usually very busy, going about their, and of course you can't blame them for, there were bills to pay and all of that. They actually had no time to sit down to talk to me about different things. And I actually really wanted answers to different things that I had, questions for. And so I told myself, if it's not available, why don't we create it? Exactly. So I spoke to one of my friends. We kind of came together and began to think about what we could do for the male community, because I felt if I was getting to ask myself those questions, maybe some young guys were having the same thing as well. So we now came together and we started Heroes back in school. And our first meeting had about almost 400 and something guys that showed up without much publicity. In fact, I think we had only one. Covenant University.
Oh, really?
We had, we had only one poster.
What?
Placed at the student leadership, board. So I was expecting to be a blatant failure because all the plans we had regarding publicity didn't work and all that. So, but the turnout was crazy. We spent about 6 hours instead of 3 hours.
What?
5.5 hours actually.
But people
they just wanted to be part of it for a while, and then that happened. And then, so I woke up one morning and I was like, turning to it, because a lot of these were asking me questions as, you know, they want to be a part of the forum to hear what we talk about, because our rule is that only guys alone, no girls allowed. So guys can actually be expressive to talk and all that. So, and I felt the need to actually, you know, allow ladies also into the conversation as well. And what other platform will, you know, would that happen except through a book? And so that's what actually informed the book, How to Be a Man in the Crazy World. In fact, I wrote the book about men, but I wrote it to women.
Okay.
And that's why more women actually get in the book than men. So ladies actually read more than men do.
Yes. Let's not talk about that, because I wanted to know why is that. But yes, that's true. I think your book is really, really timely in today's world. I mean, like, you go out there and you see books on more about how should you, like, for women, how should you protect a man? How should you, you know, keep a man and all that? So, and there's a lot of pressure on men in our today's world. That's why I feel like this book is really, really important. Now, I want to talk about one concept in your book, the part where you talk about how men are not supposed to cry, men are supposed to provide, men are supposed to be carry up responsibilities. Why do you think that this is an harmful message?
A lot of times men are seen as performers, right? And they're not really seen as human beings. We are not seen based on our identity, but first of all, on our ability to provide, protect, and all of that, which is not wrong at all. You know, a man should be able to do all of these things. But a lot of times the pressure of what he's expected to do denies him of the chance of becoming a human being. You know, and so that has made a lot of men to take pride in what they can do and not necessarily have a identity in who they are, right? And so that's because of maybe, you know, orientation, growing up and all of that. So men are allowed to be vulnerable, to say, you know what, I'm tired sometimes. And so, and a lot of time what we are told growing up as young men doesn't allow us the chance to actually really, really air out sometimes, you know. Of course, to be honest, we as men, we should be able to go out there, do stuff, and then, you know, provide for our family and all that. In fact, men we take our pride in our ability to actually provide for the ones we care about, the ones we love.
Yes.
That's how we hustle.
Yeah, that's
how we work.
That's a natural.
Naturally. In fact, it's when they are happy that we are happy. When the family are really happy, to be honest, for the average man. So you can see a man that will not change over the past 5 months, but he has bought so much for his, you know.
Yes.
So her looking pretty makes him happy. But the thing is, but I often would tell men, you know, beyond that, also it's important for you to also have time to really redefine who you are. Yes. Reevaluate why you do what you do and, you know, who you are. So because it is going to have to be from your sense of who you are that you can feed into your roles. When you are feeding into your without having a sense of who you are, you begin to feed from a place of dryness. Yes. Right? And when you are dry for too long, you begin to crack. Why some men begin to get into all kinds of vices because there's nothing fueling or feeding their sense of identity. Yes. That's really, really a very important part. So absolutely, because we often don't have avenues where that gives to men, that really gives back to men, basically, that feeds the man. Who knows when the men's day is or when Father's Day?
Oh, but this year's own though was different. Anyway, I liked it.
I was so happy about that because for the first time men were being seen, and that's phenomenal, you know. But we need to do a whole lot more of that.
For men.
Let men
But would they show up?
It's what made you. 400 guys showed up for my event for the first time.
That's true. I've always wondered why there are more women for every 300 women conferences, there's just one for men. Absolutely. And I don't know why that is. Before, this is what I thought. Like, men really don't have time to show up for these things because maybe they are busy, like you said, hustling, trying to fend and everything, so they're like, oh, this is not important. Because even in normal gatherings, you see more women. We are the men. Why are they running? That's one question.
Yeah, it's a very, very, to be honest, some men don't actually see the need to do that because they feel like it's not an avenue for them, you know, and all that, and which is not so true. It's not true because men actually need avenues to also be fed. That's why, like I said, if you keep feeding from a piece of dryness, you soon crack.
Yes,
you need to also be fueled back. So that's why it's important for men to be part of a healthy community. But it's important to also realize that a man will be where he is accepted and appreciated, right? Why we don't allow ladies into our fun, because we feel like if you have a room full of men and you have one woman there, it will change the whole atmosphere. a man can actually, because when most men are not that really expressive, they can't really communicate so well. And to be honest, we don't only communicate by talking. You know, women can communicate by talking, but so a man might say one thing and you say 10 things because you can express better than he does. So sometimes we feel like, okay, if I want to start expressing myself, I don't know if they will have the patience to let me actually take my thoughts throughout. You know, so that often affects how men actually respond to avenues like that. But I always have encouragement to, you know, don't just be isolated, don't just be by yourself. You know, it's important because, to be honest, more men are dying than women. More men are experiencing depression, anxiety cases that even that I've handled personally. Most post-traumatic stress situations are mostly by men. Most incarceration cases are by men. You know, suicidal cases and all that kind of stuff. So because we bottle it all inside, thinking that, you know, I'm just a man. I'm a man. I can handle it. You know, and there's no need to communicate out there. So that's why I always say, you know what, if you're a woman and you have a man in your life, it's important you constantly reaffirm him, let him know that he is seen. Because most men don't think they are seen.
They are seen.
They are seen at all. They are appreciated at all. And he may not say that he needs it. He may not tell you. But you know, one act of kindness to a man can mean the world to him. Can be it will amaze you. It makes me looking very tough, looking like nothing's happening, but when it goes back to the room, it's like, man, what she did to me, remember it for months.
Really? Because I was about to ask you, because you know, like we say, guys are not expressive, you know, you get such comments from ladies and guys are not expressive, they're not this, they're not that. Oftentimes guys say, okay, when they're being expressive, they feel like you take over their expressiveness for something else.
Absolutely.
Like, so how do you make you guys feel better, if that makes sense? I don't know if you
it's a very, very important question. One of the questions I'm often asked is, why are men not expressive? And I always ask the question, can you handle an expressive man? Really? I think you can handle it, but when a man begins to express that, it might feel like it's a wimp. He's a coward.
He's a
sissy, that kind of stuff. But you need to create an environment that makes a man able to lay his head. Able to express himself. This is how you can do it. There are 4 things I list that women can do to make a man more expressive. Number 1 is silence, right? When a man is going through something, he already feels bad that he can't. Now, understand this. Men talk for a different reason. Women talk to bond. Men don't talk to bond. Men talk for function, right? When if something goes bad here, a man wants to solve it. If this thing is broken, he wants to fix it. Now, if this thing is broken, he wants to talk about it first. That's how she kind of like airs her feelings out. So if you now want to fix it for her, it might upset her because she really actually just wants to talk about it at first, right? But for a man, men don't talk like that. Men talk for function. Before a man can actually talk about something, it must mean that he wants to get it solved. Don't just want it to be, that's not what he wants at that moment. So sometimes he is going through it in his head, trying to resolve how he can fix the issue. And then you just hounding on him and asking him to tell you, only makes him more mad at himself.
It's just best to be silent.
Number one, allow him some time. He's having what is called a cave experience. That's when he gets into his shell to look out for what he can take from his shell to fix an issue out there, right? So give him some time. It's a temporary vacation, not a permanent location, right? So it's important for number 1, allow him some, and then tell him, you know what, if at any time he wants to talk, you are here. Then secondly, men don't talk because they really do not trust their women, is what I mean. Trust means something different for a man than it means to a woman. A woman can say trust in her case means he's not cheating on me, that kind of thing. But for a man, that's what referring to. His trust for him means whatever I tell you will stay with you. You're not going to tell your girlfriends or tell your mother, tell whoever. He's going to stay with you. And then you're not going to re-echo it back to me when we're having issues. You're not going to use that as something to pin me down when we have a problem. And then sometimes also, men don't talk because the woman they are with, she's overtly emotional at that moment. So he already feels bad that he's going through what he's going through. And now making you feel bad, the way he's making you feel bad, that makes him feel very helpless. So I always tell ladies, If you're overwhelmed by what he's telling the woman, just pause, excuse yourself, go to the bathroom and cry, then come back and sit down. So you can be in a mental frame to actually help that, so he needs to be able to trust you, that whatever he tells you, don't ever repeat it back to him when he's having an issue. Because if you do, you have shut that door forever. He will never talk to you. And a man knows how to create a world that you can believe in, which is not really the world he's living in.
Wow, that's scary.
Yeah.
That's
scary. A man can have issues that's killing him, but when he comes home, he will just tell you what he thinks you should hear. It's okay for you to listen to. But for you to really get him to talk, you must be his best friend. You must be his guy, like someone that he can confide in, that let him tell you the worst of things. Let him feel like he can tell you anything and he's safe with you. Right? If that can happen, trust me, he will talk to you about anything.
I feel like this is so needed. The fourth one.
Absolutely. So like I said before, that's silence. And then what's that affirmation? I know you say 5 love languages.
Because I wanted to say that, yes.
To be honest, men may not say it. Most men don't say it.
Yes.
But I tell you, telling a man that he's a great man means more to him than you can think about. One time, my sister, when I was very small, think about like 10 years old, she used to buy stuff from Chinatown to go sell in, a boutique. Very cheap stuff she would buy, but they were very good and to go sell. So she would have like these bags of stuff, and I help her carry it. I'll almost be dying. I'll be carrying like this. Then she will now tell me, look at you, my superhero, Superman, look at you. A million man in one.
Wow, so that won't just
that thing I'll bring that one, let me put it on my neck, on my head. I'll carry everything.
Oh my God.
You understand? That sense of affirmation, affirming him, reminding him of who he is and what he can do. Don't just tell him about the mistakes he made. Remind him of what he can do. Tell him you're a king. You know who you are. You know what you see how far you've come. See what you've done so far. Look at you. You're such a great man, my king. That kind of thing. When you use those kind of words on a man, you bring something out of him. Like there's
oh wow.
See, ladies, ladies, you have power in your mouth. You can make a man. You can destroy a man with your tongue. What you say to a man is so important because it fits him. There's a king in every man, and there's a child in every man. It's whoever you feed that comes out. You feed the child in him by nagging him all the time. That's what will come out of him all the time. But you feed the king in him, right? That's what's going to come out of him all the time. So you can wield your words rightly. You can get a man to be on your side. Right?
That's so good. That's so good.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm thinking like that words of affirmation, do you think it's because men are not used to being told that enough?
Absolutely.
That's why it's needed.
Absolutely.
For everyone.
Most men are not told. I've never been told anything in their life. I've never been told I care about you, I love you.
Yes.
I've never been told. They've never been given good words. No, the society expects men to know what to do. But you don't ever teach a man what it means to be a man. Hardly do you see a father sitting down with his son to talk about life. You talk about other things happening around, but not really about life. Like giving you, cogent advice and then affirming the young man. The young man has been starving of. So it comes to a point where he has almost killed the desire for it and just dead it. There's no point, right? But if you can just feed him with that, to amaze you what a man can do when you can give him the right words. So like I said, you're very right. Most men have never been told anything good in their lives. So they've always had to work to earn it, to earn a sense of belonging, a sense of, being of worth. So you don't see value in themselves as a person, but see value only when they are able to meet your needs.
Oh, that's
so good. It's important you change that way. Let him also know he's seen and he's important as well.
That's really good. So finally, what's that one thing? Maybe there's a man, but there are men watching this right now. What's one thing you would like to tell them? What are your final words or advice for a man that's like, okay, I really want to change this. I want to be a better man. I want to be a better person.
First of all, it's important for you to identify who you are. Know who you are, first of all, as a man. Before you are any of the roles you identify as a father, a son, as a whatever, a caregiver, you're first of all a person. And if you don't, a lot of time we switch the hierarchy. We're like, okay, I meet the needs first, then needs now fits who I am. But if you flip that hierarchy and make your identity a priority, first of all, then the things you do becomes an outflow of who you are, right? It will really benefit in the long run. Then belong to a healthy community. Don't be by yourself. Don't be isolated. Be a part of a church. Be a part of a community. Be where you can, have healthy friends around you because some of the things you're struggling with, if you can just change your association, you'll be a better man, to be honest. So intentionally choose your association of people you want to be a part of. If you're struggling with something as a person, maybe a tendency, a temperament, or whatever, just be intentional about your association. Be accountable to someone. Have someone that you can be accountable to as a man, and then realize that you are fundamentally a child of God. An incredible being, and you're not what the media says you are. You're not what even your babe says you are. You're not even what your bank account says you are. You're fundamentally a child of God, and it's from that knowledge, that identity, that you can now feed the areas of your life that really matter. So, like I said, every man is a king. Let the king in you arise.
I love that. Yeah. Well, Talkers, thank you so much for being here today. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I believe that it's going to help a lot of people out there. So, if you like this episode, please make sure to give us a thumbs up and leave us a comment in the comment section below. And the book, How to Be a Man in the Crazy World, you can get it on Seller and in Rovis Heights in Abuja, right? Anywhere in Nigeria. So, and I will see you in another episode. So check the description box for where you can get this book. I'll put the link there.
Amazon as well.
And, it's on
Amazon, Target, Barnes.
Oh, okay. You can get it on Amazon. So I will put that there. And I'll also put your IG, is that okay? Your Instagram handle. Okay, all right. I'll see you in this episode. Take care of yourself. Bye.
Bye.